We're celebrating a big anniversary this year, 500 years. So what happened 500 years ago? I'll show you. I'm driving to Luther Seminary in St. Paul. You probably remember 2017. It was 500 years after Luther nailed the 95 Theses to the church door in Wittenberg. That was in 1517. Well, in 1524, Luther and his friends created something that was revolutionary, and you can see it up close at the seminary. And to do that, we're going to one of the coolest places on this campus. It's a room that few people know about, really one of the best-kept secrets in town. It's the rare book room. The other day, I met one of the librarians at the seminary, and he unlocked it for me. And I asked him about this room and about this thing that happened 500 years ago.
I'm Peter Waters. I am the Circulation and Collections Coordinator at Luther Seminary Library. We are currently in the rare book room at Luther Seminary. I'll show you the greatest hits. Our oldest book is from 1478. It is a text named Mammo Tractus Super Biblium, which translates into like the nourishment of the Bible. Hand-drawn, the fancy pictures and stuff on it, but the text itself is printed. So it's an interesting time between two worlds of handwritten manuscript and printing press. There's a lot of great stuff in here that's it's because I like to snoop around, is really what it is. And since I have the keys to it, I can snoop around. Over here is a Luther Bible from 1556. What's interesting about it are these really intricate woodcuts that are all throughout the Bible. These are kind of my favorites, God with Adam and Eve. But what's interesting about this as well is, I don't know if you can pick this up on camera, but there's these tiny holes throughout the pages. And those are from bookworms. There. Yeah, they're pretty devastating to the libraries at one point in time. Mice. That's why you had library cats. My favorite non-religious book is from 1677. It is Webster on Witchcraft. This is John Webster, practitioner of physics.
This book was new to me. The author was writing to disprove the existence of witches doing actual magic. But what I really came here for had something to do with music, and there's a lot of music in these shelves.
Yeah, this is the Book of Esther. It's the Cantor Scroll. So if you were to unroll it, you'd see that in the Hebrew there are different markings that gives the Cantor notes or tells them what to do and where to change pitch and things like that.
And then we saw this broadsheet. Before there were hymnals, people read music off these large sheets of paper, which is putting us closer to our goal because after Gutenberg invented his printing press, Luther and his friends realized they could use the new printing technology to put their hymns into the hands of everyday folks like you and me.
If we go back in time to the first Lutheran hymnal.
Here it is. Here's the thing that happened 500 years ago. In 1524, Luther and his friends created Acht Liederbuch, which literally means the 8 songbook. It's known as the first Lutheran hymnal. Think about that. Maybe you grew up with the red hymnal, maybe the green hymnal, maybe the blue. Here's the first one that Lutherans ever carried. Just 8 songs, but it helped bring the good news of the Reformation into people's lives. A friend of mine is writing his dissertation on these old Lutheran hymns and hymnals. We talked about this Acht Liederbuch, and he said something interesting.
Originally, with that size and the number of sheets in them, people could carry them in their pockets. So they could bring them to church, they could use them at home, they were portable.
It's a small hymnal, but it allowed people to sing the gospel wherever they went. And because it was small, it was able to fly under the radar, so to speak.
Martin Luther's hymns were extremely effective. They were even more effective than the Luther Bible in certain kinds of ways. Duke George in ducal Saxony immediately outlawed Luther's New Testament. But the songs came in these very small hymnals at the beginning. They came in pamphlets, they came in broadsheets, and people could mail them to people in areas where it was forbidden to have Luther's Bible, or they could stop evangelical preachers.
This hymnal was contraband, and the first hymn in there was Nun freut euch. We still have it in our hymnal today. In English, it's Dear Christians, one and all rejoice, and it was written by Luther himself. One of the pastors in Wittenberg said that this song packed quite a punch.
He claimed that one song saved countless souls. And you'll find statements like that from the Lutherans. And the funny thing is, you'll find a lot of statements from Catholics at the time talking about more souls being damned by Luther's hymns than they ever were by any of his preaching or anything else that he wrote. Hymns and words, when you're singing, penetrate the heart.
Depending on your perspective, the words and music in this book could send you to hell or raise you to heaven. But I noticed something funny when I was in the rare book room. I looked around and didn't see any hymnals that were older. I asked my friend about this. If the Acht Liederbuch was the first Lutheran hymnal, what other hymnals came before it?
They didn't exist. Lutherans invented hymnals.
What? This isn't just the first Lutheran hymnal. This is the first hymnal, period. My friend pointed me to a scholar who's written a lot on this topic, Dr. Robin Lever. Dr. Lever has traveled the world researching and teaching about the music of Luther and Bach. I sent him an email, and here's what he said. Basically, the answer is yes. There were collections of hymns used in monasteries, and there was a long-lost book from the Bohemian reformers. But the Acht Liederbuch was the first book designed for congregations with original hymns in the language of the people. It really was a new thing in the history of the church. Before there was the red book or the blue book or the green book, there was this. Our church has been raising funds for a pipe organ. And I said that when we reached the halfway point, I would sing every hymn in our hymnal, a hymn marathon. We just reached that point, and so we put the marathon on the calendar for this June 2024. When we set the date, we didn't realize that we were doing it on this big 500th anniversary. That's either dumb luck or divine intervention. But what a great way to celebrate the occasion. You're invited to join us. We've been singing from our hymnals for 500 years. Our songs are about grace. They're about Jesus and his cross. They're about faith and justification and salvation. And when we sing, we don't sing alone. We sing together.